Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished colleagues of the House of Representatives, ladies and gentlemen, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege. In the culmination of the National Indigenous Peoples Month that was celebrated throughout October, allow me to speak to you to honor my fellow indigenous peoples and their overwhelming contributions to our economy, our history, our environment, and to our culture and heritage. However, Mr. Speaker, this speech is not only to give honor to the indigenous peoples, but also a call to everyone's attention to the alarming discriminatory acts and degrading and repudiating remarks made against our indigenous brothers and sisters, such as insinuating, among others, that indigenous peoples eat raw meat and are land grabbers or extortionists. It is with great concern and heavy heart that I stand before you to shed light on the need to eradicate such divisive comments as we all aspire to promote unity, respect, and understanding among all members of our society. It is so disheartening that we show disrespect to reciprocate the sector of our society who have done much to sustain life and livelihood through their customs, traditions, and beliefs. Sabi po ng isang United Nations report, bagamat nasa 15% po ang population ng mga indigenous people sa buong mundo, napakalaki po ang ambag nila sa ating kalikasan at kabuhayan because they are responsible for the protection and preservation of 85% of the world biodiversity. That is exactly the same role our IPs are doing here in the whole archipelago. Livelihood activities are thriving in Luzon because of the conservation efforts of our indigenous peoples in watershed areas of the Cordillera and Sierra Mountain ranges, which sustains our river system that makes agriculture and other water-driven livelihood activities in the lowlands thriving. Sigurado po ako na ganyan din sa Visayas at sa Mindanao. Our indigenous communities have a rich history and culture that have contributed significantly to our society. They are the original stewards of the land they occupy, and their unique perspectives and traditions are invaluable. It is high time we recognize and celebrate their contributions rather than marginalizing or belittling them. Mr. Speaker, it is also sad that we misjudge as extortive our IP's assertion of their rights in order that exploitative manipulations of their weaknesses by supposed developers and investors will not prevail. I do not intend to stand tall like a big father to a lost son, but may it be a friendly reminder that the Philippine Constitution saw it fit to actualize justice, improve lives, when it looked back at the long destitution of less fortunate sectors of society and incorporated in the fundamental law in at least 6 provisions, recognizing and protecting IP rights, Section 22, Article 2, Section 5, Article 7, Section 1 and 6 of Article 13, Section 17, Article 14, and Section 12 of Article 16 of the 1987 Constitution. Then Congress enacted IPRA to implement those provisions, not for indigenous peoples to grab lands and certainly not to extort, but to have their customary laws and governing property rights be recognized. Whose laws protected the remaining forests in our country? The ravaging of the country's 23 million hectares of forests from the 1700s up to the 80s and 90s is stopped at the very doorstep of indigenous peoples' territories. At some point during such era, deforestation occurred at the rate of 1 tree per 3.5 minutes, or 14 hectares per hour, or 119,000 hectares per year, according to the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, Philippine Country Report and Consultation on Sustainable Forests in Southeast Asia in 1993. But it stopped in indigenous peoples' territories due to the customary law that enforces practices such as, for example, the Inayan, the Sagada Mountain Province concept of taboo of cutting trees, the Imong system of Kalinga, and the Lapat system of Ifugao. Each of the 110 of Philippine tribes have their own practices. They refer to at present as indigenous peoples' community conserved areas. Those customary laws have retained remaining watersheds that provide free water services to million hectares of lowland agricultural farms that in turn supply rice to millions of Filipinos. Thus, recognition of indigenous people's rights is not just about environmental protection, but about ensuring the country's food security. No indigenous peoples, no watershed. No watershed, no water. No water, no food. No food, hunger, disease, and death will likely occur. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, the discriminatory acts and remarks against indigenous peoples not only perpetuate harmful stereotypes, but also undermine the principles of equality and justice that our societies were built on. Those comments reveal a deep-seated prejudice that has persisted for far too long. It is our collective responsibility to confront and rectify this issue. In the face of discrimination, we must remember that diversity is the cornerstone of our nation's strength. It is what has made us resilient, innovative, and prosperous. By embracing and respecting the cultures and traditions of our indigenous brothers and sisters, we strengthen our social fabric and build a brighter future for all. I call upon each of us, as representatives of our diverse and inclusive nation, to condemn discriminatory remarks against indigenous peoples and to take concrete actions to promote equality, education, and understanding. Let us work together to create a society where everyone, regardless of their background, is treated with the dignity and respect they deserve. In conclusion, let us remember the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." It is our duty to be that change, to stand up against discrimination, and to build a more inclusive and equitable society for all, where every member, including our indigenous brothers and sisters, can thrive. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon again, once again.